It's the art of the deal on a global stage, my friends. Donald Trump showing people how it's done. Market surging today. All of a sudden, the doubters and the haters and the losers are feeling like maybe once again they counted Trump out when he was just getting started. So, what do I have for you? First of all, the big news of today. Other than the fact that I'm going into the hospital to become a dad for the first time, which we'll talk about later. Big news of the day is the Dow Jones up 2,800 points as I am talking to you right now. That is up 7% overall, which is a huge bump, a huge surge in things. And it's looking good, my friends. Here's why. It all makes sense when you break it down. Because Trump has paused the tariffs for 90 days, the major tariffs for 90 days against most countries. It's going to be kind of a 10% baseline tariff that he wants to keep, but 90-day tariff pause for most countries, although China, he says, is going to have to learn what's up. And that's that's what he talks about here. Because of the lack of respect that China has had, this is Trump on Truth Social, lack of respect China has shown to the world markets. I am raising the tariff charge to China by the United States of America at 125% effective immediately. At some point, hopefully in the near future, China will realize that the days of ripping off the USA and other countries is no longer sustainable or acceptable. So what this is turning into is a art of the deal extraordinaire where you have all these different countries looking to reorient their trade agreements now with the United States. Allies like South Korea and Japan, we're going to figure out a way to do business with them so that it benefits all parties and everything's going to be good. But China is going to have to figure a new way forward. They're not going to be able to continue the same kind of shenanigans that they've gotten away with in the past. And that makes a whole heck of a lot of sense to me. You know, it's really, you have to separate out, even with trade, allies and enemies. You know, we think of allies and enemies in a national security context, but the United Kingdom, we're not worried about the United Kingdom trying to invade the United States, subvert and overthrow our system of government. We don't view them as a competitor. We view them as a friend on the world stage. True of a lot of other countries too. Canada, France, New Zealand. I mean, these are countries that we know see the world largely in this, in at least the most basic ways, the same way that we do. In the case of some of them, we even share a common language. Not France, Spain, Germany. Those are great countries as well that we have a good relationship with. Sound like Trump, very good relationship with them. But when you look at China, the considerations are more than just who can make the cheapest stuff the fastest. And that's what I think really comes to the forefront here. China has been, when people say, oh, they're not ripping us off, they make this stuff, we buy this stuff, everybody wins. Well, hold on a second. If that's true, what about all the intellectual property theft, as in stealing our tech and then making stuff with that tech that then they make with state subsidy much cheaper than what we can make it with because they've taken the secret sauce, if you will. Why do we have intellectual property protections in this country if it doesn't matter? Well, obviously, because we're trying to establish rules of the road that will encourage more research and development, that will encourage more intellectual property discovery. And China just violates that. That's just one example. China just rips off our stuff and then makes it. And you say, well, hold on a second. Why is that fair? It's not. And they've agreed not to do that, and they are breaking their word time and again. China has gotten very wealthy as a country, and it has done so with a lot of tariffs in place. Now, you could say that they'd be wealthier without the tariffs, but I think the Chinese have a pretty good sense of what their best interests are because they do pursue often a zero-sum game. They pursue their interests at the expense of everybody else. So it would seem to me to be quite presumptuous for anyone to think that they know better than Xi Jinping what is going to help the Chinese strategic vision of economic and eventually military dominance, right? They don't know what's good for them. That's very rarely is that an argument that I think you'll see winning the day when you're talking about major power conflicts. That we know better than they do. It's not that countries don't make mistakes about their interests, but assuming that we somehow have just a better pathway than they do. China has gone from a GDP per capita in the hundreds to now in like the $15,000 range in a pretty short period of time. So they have become dramatically wealthier as a country. And yes, they've made a lot of stuff and they have a massive workforce, but they've also been doing it at the expense of a lot of other countries competing in the markets. Israeli citizens look for the return of normalcy in their country. It's hard to do when there's ceasefire negotiations happening, when there's increased tensions between Hamas and the IDF forces. Nearly 18 months after the Hamas invasion and brutal attack, life is not normal for everyone in Israel. As Israelis work hard to return to a life of normalcy, the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews has continued to support those in the Holy Land facing the lingering horrors of war and those who are in desperate need. Your ongoing monthly gift of $45 will provide critically needed aid to communities in the north and south parts of Israel devastated by the ongoing war. Your generous donation each month will help deliver to those in need. You can provide hope during a time of great uncertainty with your gift. Bless Israel and her people by visiting supportifcj.org. That's one word, supportifcj.org, or call 888-488-IFCJ. That's 888-488-IFCJ. The nature of competition, I think this is, in competition, there have to be winners and losers in some ways. Right now, there can be competition that is friendly and there can be competition that is winner take all or ultra high stakes. We know there's differences even among competition, but this notion that everybody wins, there's no downside in trade with China is just, that's a fallacy. That's impossible. There's no way that that's the case, because why would China then not just do what we want them to do and have no trade barriers and play by WTO rules? As I've been saying, if China's in the World Trade Organization and part of that is agreeing to operate its businesses and its economy in a certain way, why not just do that if they didn't get some advantage from breaking those rules? You can just apply logic to this and see that the free trade religion that a lot of people espouse is divorced from the reality of what's actually happening in a lot of these places. So I think that the 90-day pause from Trump is a good thing, very encouraged by this. And I think that the market reaction to it shows you that the market wants stability. The market wants a sense that what's going on here is following some kind of a plan and a strategy. And I think the Trump strategy here has been brilliant. He had to convince the world that he was willing to go to the mat on this. You've got to have leverage. People have to believe you're willing to pull the lever. That if you do X, I do Y. If you do W, I do Z. They have to think that that's real. If they figure that it's all bluster, nothing changes. So he had to be willing to get some rattled markets going, or else everybody would thought it was just bluster. But now that bluster has turned into, okay, you're serious. Let's talk this thing through with our allies. And then with China, it's China, no more free pass for you on this stuff. And look, is that going to result in some economic dislocation in the meantime that could mean that things get more expensive? Some consumer goods get more expensive, for example? Yeah, I think so. This is not going to be pain-free, but as long as it makes sense, there's a strategy and there's an end game that we can see and that the market can see, I think it's all going to be fine. And I have never lost faith in Trump on this. I have said it on the radio show. I said it just earlier today before the good news broke about the 90-day pause. I said, I am ride or die with Trump on this one. I see what he's trying to do. It makes sense to me. He was right in his first term when everybody else was wrong on the U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. When I say everybody, I mean the so-called consensus out of D.C., and he was willing to take the heat and get to a place of real change and positive change, to make things, to fix things. You can't do things the same way. To alter the status quo, you can't do business as usual. This is a tautology. It's very obvious, but a lot of it's sort of like politicians who actually keep their word is a revolutionary idea. Well, it should be the most obvious thing, but in fact, that is not the case because of the habit that we've gotten into. And I think the habit we've gotten into with our economy is the way things are is the way they always must be. We have to spend too much. We have to be at the mercy of other countries trade policies with regard to our industry and our national security concerns, and Trump is changing that. And I think it's a very, very good thing. You know, it's also a very good thing to look to the future and take action now. Look at the price of gold. Okay, if you want to create some stability for yourself, owning some gold when you see it, yes, I know it's hitting all-time highs lately, but there's a reason for that. The trajectory of gold over the last 30 years, look at it. Look at that price line. Look at what's happening. Gold is good. It is solid. It is a store of value. And Birch Gold Group is who I turn to for my gold. That's who you should use as well. They've helped tens of thousands of people convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. That's a great thing to do. If you got an IRA sitting around, not a ton of money in it, but you'd like to see it maintain value and grow over time, and you can just set it and forget it, that's where converting that IRA or 401k into a physical gold IRA makes so much sense. Also, you can just buy physical gold, as I did recently. You can buy gold coins, gold bars, have it delivered right to your home. It's safe, it's secure, the customer service is fantastic. But Birch Gold will explain all this to you. Learn how you can own physical gold in a tax-sheltered account. Text my name, Buck, to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free, no-obligation info kit. Again, text my name, Buck, to 989898. Text BUCK to 989898. They'll send you that info kit. A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. Go with Birch Gold. That is who you should be getting gold from, and I would take action on it now. I think the price of gold's only going up. Just look at a chart of gold. They can't just print gold, right? I mean, you have to mine it. There's a reason why gold historically has been a store of value. So I would go check that out for yourself today. Something else that got my attention, and it is something that is unsurprising to me, but still galling to see it. The acting head of the IRS resigning because the Trump administration is mandating sharing of IRS information for the purposes of immigration enforcement. First of all, why aren't we taxing the remittances? Let's put that out there. Pretty hefty tax on remittances. I think that would be a good thing. I'd like to see that because that's money that's not going into the U.S. economy, right? That's money that's going elsewhere, people who aren't supposed to be here in the first place. So I don't like that. Beyond that, though, the law is supposed to be the law. And the IRS is involved in, let's be honest, it's involved in law enforcement, essentially. And that's what tax law is. It's the tax law authority. Yeah, they'll send the FBI to arrest you, but IRS agents are the ones that flag you, and they're the ones that do your audits and everything else. And that the head of the IRS would think that they should have the right to demand receipts of a restaurant you went to 2 years ago that you wrote off as a work dinner or something. They can demand that of you, but they won't share information about the returns that affect that show who's illegal and where they are. Is outrageous. It just goes to show you that even in the apparatus itself, there are a lot of clearly Democrats who think that illegal aliens are a special, instead of being a class of illegal actor in this country, somebody who is violating the law, not just with their status, but often with Social Security fraud, using fake Social Security information, all kinds of stuff, that they are a special, instead of a special class of criminal, they are, and again, I understand a lot of them are hardworking people and they're not doing, evil crimes, but they are violating our laws and they do so with impunity. Are you an evil person if you, shave a little bit off your tax return and Uncle Sam gets a little less of your money? No, you're not an evil person. But the IRS will say, you better pay fines or we're throwing you in prison. And maybe they throw you in prison anyway. It depends on how big the shaving of your tax return, if you will, ends up being. So you don't pay the IRS enough, you can go to prison, but the IRS doesn't want to help with immigration enforcement because those people are allowed to break the law because there's some bizarre left-wing, we are one world humanitarian religion that they belong to. It's appalling. It's shocking, and it should enrage you, and enrages me. And I'm very happy to see that Trump is saying no more of that nonsense. And with that, my friends, I got to tell you, this is it for me for this week. Because I'm going to the hospital tonight with my wife. We are expecting the birth of our firstborn, a baby boy. We are very, very, very excited about it. I appreciate all of the advice and well wishes and hugs and everything else. I had to wait a long time. I'm 43 years old, becoming a dad. So, I'll be grandpa age when my kid graduates college, hopefully. But, you know, better late than never on this one. We're excited to start our family, and we're hoping God will bless us with a few more down the line, too. Or, one or two more would be really nice. But first things first, let's get this little guy out. And I will have updates for you certainly on the podcast next week, which might be Monday or Tuesday. See how it's going here. I'm going to take a couple days off for sure to help my wife after the pregnancy. But thank you, all of you. And we'll have baby photos and everything to share next week. Until then, shields high. The fight for life is ongoing day in and day out. And on the front lines of it, Preborn. Preborn has a network of clinics across the nation who have a very simple but profoundly important mission, which is to save the lives of as many tiny babies as they possibly can. And they do this by putting their clinics in areas of the country where abortion rates are highest and offering women an alternative to abortion with love and care and support. Now, this process usually starts with an ultrasound because once mom sees that tiny heartbeat, she knows the choice here has to be for life. But Preborn needs your help in this mission. They get no government funding. All you have to do and what you can do right now to help them is go to preborn.com/buck. That's preborn.com/BUCK. Consider donating $28 a month to be a sponsor for Preborn's incredibly important network, saving lives day in and day out.